Well, it started off like every other single email that you send out, where you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna send a link out to this article about Khan Academy. So I thought I would do that. I thought I would share that with all of the people in my learning community. And then I got to thinking that maybe it was time for a change. If you look in this great article here, by the way, it's on CBS this morning, did an interview with Sal Khan from Khan Academy, and he talked about online education and the success that he's had. And you can read the article here, and it's a good one. Or you can watch the video right here, which is actually probably an even better way to go. I don't know that it was a great, insightful interview, but his personality and what he stands for is certainly part of what makes this an interesting idea. But then it starts to get interesting. If you want to find out more about Khan Academy, you can watch the 60-minute pieces, the features that were on 60 Minutes. Great stuff. And there are other things to read, other popular videos, other things that make you want to know more about Sal Khan. However, I wanted to point out a couple of things that he said here that I think are really quite insightful. And then I'm going to take it a little bit farther and show you why I think Sal Khan, not just Khan Academy, but Sal Khan himself, is an inspiration and a guiding light for us doing what we do. Um, Everyone asks him, Sal, why do you think these videos are so popular? And he discusses it right here in the article and, of course, in his discussion on CBS. And he goes into explain, of course, that he started these videos so that he could help his family and help them learn. And they that's not good enough for most of the people in the world. They want to know more. Sal, why do so many people watching? Are you surprised by the fact that millions of people are watching you? Are you surprised that it's caught on the way it has? And frankly, he is, and he's also a little bit surprised when he finds out that um, Bill Gates calls him his favorite teacher. But I'm going to show you a little bit about what he's done that's been so earth-shattering. But first, I want you to just kind of take a look at the quote that he had here. Um, he the success of the online videos concept demonstrate people's curiosity and capacity for learning. And he goes on to talk about how wonderful it is to learn, and it's hard to argue with that. The excitement that comes with learning, and the biggest highs that we get are when we learn something new. And so he says, when you see kids who are disengaged in math class or science class, it's because they're frustrated and they feel like things are going over them. In math class, kids point out, when am I going to need this later on in life? And that's a question you get all the time. However, he does also point out, but you never see a 5'9" Indian kid in PE class saying, when am I going to have to shoot a hoop? Or, what, they're not destined for careers in basketball and they don't mind shooting a hoop. And he says it's because they're engaged, they're doing something interesting. He also points out in the interview that we don't ever question finger painting and some of the other activities in life. When am I ever going to need to finger paint again in life? Because we're engaged, it's fun, it's interesting, and it's not something that we really want to question because it's something that we enjoy. So I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at his perspective on the Khan Academy. I'm going to take you then to, so of course I couldn't help but go there again today and visit. And so I go to Khan Academy and I looked around a little bit, and there's a lot of information, a lot of interesting things for you to do here. It's easy to sign up for Khan Academy. It's easy to get his perspective on things and kind of begin to look. Lots of videos about him, Saul, and you can take a look at those. But I wanted to point out several things from a teacher's perspective of why this site I think is so important. First of all, the obvious one. You can watch videos on a number of different subjects. I know Sal is Mr. Khan Academy has been associated with math, and there's no question math is his strength, and you can see the list of math courses and topics is almost endless. There are thousands of math videos, and they're all pretty good. I haven't watched them all, but from what I can see, they're awesome. So on science, you have biology, chemistry, organic, and so forth. I think you can see that lots of topics are covered here and covered well. Finance and econ. If you didn't already know that finance and econ are here, they are. He gives some great perspectives on some economic pieces that I think some topics that are very difficult for us to do. His beauty is his ability to simplify. Moving on to humanities. I don't think a lot of people realize that there's history and American civics pieces and art history involved here. I'm going to give you a couple of different examples of videos that I think are probably something that you maybe didn't know existed. I'm going to click on the history piece and take you to the topics here. Lots of different topics, and my goal is not to show you all of them, but I wanted to give you the perspective on one. I just picked Korean War Overview, and you can see it's checked here because I already watched it. When you go to the Korean War Overview, what you're going to discover is that this is a video that lays out the basics of the Korean War in the course of 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, I think in the flipped classroom concept that that's very, very significant. And we'll lay out a little bit more what we think is important, but let's just talk about this. In our own classrooms, it's obvious that the Khan Academy can be used in two different ways. One, you can use these videos just the way they are because they're very well done, and as a teacher you don't have to do a single different thing. Just use this. If you're teaching the Korean War, I mean, it took a lot of years for the Korean War to be over with, right? Approximately 8 or 9 years worth, and he can sum it up in 16 minutes and 10 seconds. And I promise you, if you watch this video, you can walk away with the main ideas of the Korean War. If every one of our students understood these topics about the Korean War, I think we'd be pretty darn happy and pretty darn satisfied if they understood it as well as he's described it. If each of our students could also take 16 minutes and describe the Korean War the way he did, we'd be very, very happy. So use them exactly the way they are. If you don't want to use them exactly the way they are and you feel like you could do something better and different, then use his format. Again, Korean War, it's short, it's simple, it's very personable. What you see on the screen here is really what you're staring at most of the time during this video. He didn't go crazy with the graphics. He didn't go crazy with any of the prep. He put some maps up here and some pictures of the leaders and points to them. So use that simple, personable format. He makes sure it's not too perfect. And he'll even mention in the videos when he's talking about the 38th parallel, he's saying it's approximately right here. He's not getting caught up in the fact that it is exactly right there. It's not a great graphic, but it's interesting enough that you're hanging on. It's not too long. Everyone has 16 minutes. If you have to study a war, everyone's got 16 minutes that they can devote to that. He deals in only the main topics, and you can see on the page here, he starts with these main topics on the screen. So he does most of his prep that way, and it's all in his own handwriting. It's not exactly real fancy, but it is very effective. So that's a great lesson for us to learn when it comes to creating these flipped classrooms or these different videos. So from a humanities standpoint, I think that's a great example of the Korean War. Now, I didn't watch a lot of the others, but I'm sure some of the others will be equally as impressive. And you can see then again from a history standpoint. What it kind of points out to me is what is the worldview as really, really key ideas here. Okay, and I think that's really what we're all about. I also went in and took a little look at a piece in art history. In this case, I think I went Michelangelo, I believe, is what I studied. And when I went in to see Michelangelo, there was a piece on the Sistine Chapel which I kind of dug into a little bit. And here's the interesting perspective on that. While the video I thought was really, really well done, it was interesting to see that it was kind of an animated piece. It wasn't what I kind of expected. It was an animated piece with two people talking in the Sistine Chapel, animated figures talking and then looking around. Which and in the comment section, people say, well, what program did you use? And so they said they used Second Life. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to check out Second Life. So here's Second Life. It's kind of an animated 3D world, which has some history perspectives. There's a lot of opportunities for you to take virtual tours. Now, it's also it might not be, all of its uses might not be for what we're using from a school perspective. I don't know that we need to visit any 3D discos and so forth, but there are some interesting places for you to visit as a teacher, and make a, possibly you could make a video of some different destinations. And on here are just a number of different places that you could take a virtual tour to with your class. Okay, and get a feel for it, including places like the Sistine Chapel. And by the way, the Sistine Chapel looks something like this when they were touring it and having this discussion about, what's the significance of the paintings here? What is it that Michelangelo was trying to tell us? What was he depicting? What is some of the symbolism here? Why are we looking at this, and why is it still significant after all these years? What is the history behind this, and so forth. And in this particular video that I watched, they weren't doing the ceiling; they were doing with this wall, and why is that significant? So I thought you guys might appreciate the fact that there's more to Khan Academy than just videos. But that's not it. Another really cool feature is this fact that you can practice. And I just went quickly into some math practice and selected fractions and clicked on fractions, and it took me to some examples of fractions and how to work with them. It has a little whiteboard on here that I can write on as a so if I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, I can make that the denominator. Which ones are shaded? And by the way, red is shaded, gray is not. Got to get one wrong in order to find that out. And so I can see that I'm at 2/5. It tells me acceptable formats and how I can type this in. So if I put it in there like this, check my answer, and it gives me a smiley face and says, hey, I did a really good job. I can go to the next question. When I get to the next question, if I don't really understand it, I can type on, I'd like a hint. It says count the red slices in the numerator. Well, of course, that's 1. Okay, I'd like another hint. There's 1 red slice. I'd like another hint. Count the total slices, the reds and the grays. Well, of course, there's 2. That's the denominator. Remember, denominator starts with D, so that's the downside. Okay, and then I'd like another hint, of course. There are 2 slices total. Now it wants to know what my answer is. By now I should have figured out that it's 1/2. I can check my answer, and it says yes, I'm right. If I type in the wrong thing, it just kind of shakes its head at me and tells me no. So practice, lots of different topics for practicing. Another interesting piece in here then is the volunteer aspect. I thought this was interesting because these Khan Academy videos have been translated into a number of different languages. And by the way, what I found interesting was Estonian. The Estonian language was the #1 translated language for Khan Academy videos. That kind of prompted me to figure out why Estonia. And by the way, I don't know that I have a great answer for you, but Estonia is #1, even though there's only like 1.3 million people in the country. They are big fans of Khan Academy, and you can see how many of them have been translated. But just as important, maybe you want to be part of translating, maybe you want to create subtitles, maybe you want to become a translator. There's an opportunity for you to do so. I'm excited about Khan Academy because I think it'll show us the way on how to do this. If you don't have time to do it, hopefully you can find topics on here that are helpful to you. And it's such a popular thing with our students. It's such a popular way to learn that I think it should be added to our repertoire. So thank you for listening today. Hope you got a little something out of it, and keep making those videos.